And we're back. We're gonna be doing some mock drafts today. You know, I'm not like the biggest mock draft person, but I do think they're fun. And hopefully, with a good simulator, we can find things that could possibly happen. I'm gonna, do some mocks that I think the Dolphins would do, some that I would do personally. Mainly just to talk about players, really breaking them down, going over stuff, and then I think next week, like the day before the draft, I'm gonna have like a final, like my own personal mock, not using a simulator, just what I think they're gonna do, predictions for all of their picks. Not trading around because it's pretty much impossible to predict who's gonna trade pre-draft, but yeah, lots of things to like. Well, some people get in here before we start really getting into the mock drafts. But yeah. And then we'll, get to the edge stream, get to DBs, break them down. I, have all the notes on the edges. Still going through all the DBs. There's a lot of them. This DB class is pretty good from the corners and safeties. A lot of day 2 safeties I like in this class. I just posted a video on Cole Bishop. Check that out if you guys have not seen it. I posted that like an hour ago. Big fan. Probably my favorite day 2 target in the safety position for the Dolphins. Really well-rounded player. And, I have the full film breakdown, breaking down all that. What's up, T-Soul? And then, yeah. Oh, yeah, and then we can talk a little bit about, because Chris Greer had his press conference the other day, and I thought he said some interesting things. Obviously, they pick at 21, but the Dolphins don't have 21 first-round grades, and that's usually how it is. Usually it's like between 15 to 20. I imagine they're probably in that range, but they're probably expecting, he even said, like, they're expecting 1 or 2 of those guys with a first-round grade to be there. And from, all the things I've done, all the, just looking at who teams are going to take, the research I've looked it up, I do think there will be some guys of value at 21. If that doesn't happen, I expect them to trade back. But with what he said, I don't think they're going to end up trading back. Probably not trade up either, which I don't think they should trade up. There's definitely a lot of interesting stuff in that Chris Greer press conference that kind of, hinted at what they were going to do. Another thing he said about, like, you look at in a 2-year type of time space, you want day 1 contributors, but you got to think, what your team is going to look like in the next year. So, are you going to take a tackle because you think Armstead's going to retire? Are you going to take an edge because, you kind of have a need for edge right now because, your guys are hurt, but also you got to think Chubb's probably not going to be on the roster. You have an out on him, so you could take an edge in the first round. There's just like so many options for them to go in. And to me, I think like the biggest option that I kind of expect is a tackle at 21 that can play guard year 1, because then you get a day 1 contributor and your future tackle, left tackle. But the problem is, I think it's feel pretty 50-50 if one of those guys are going to be there or not, because not all of those tackles I think are guard types. Like, I know they brought in Tyler Guyton. I'm not a huge Tyler Guyton fan, and I don't think Guyton can play guard. He's pretty raw. He's definitely a tackle. Wouldn't be the worst pick in the world, but it wouldn't be something I'm super excited about. Say fuck it. Let's get into, let me pull up a mock draft here. 11. Let me just check something real quick on my phone. We'll go here. And then, yeah, I think we'll do a couple just 2-round mock drafts because, the Dolphins don't have a 3rd or 4th. And, once you get to like the 6th, 7th, it's always kind of hard to know exactly, seen everyone, watch film on every one of those guys. But we'll do some of those later on. Just want to start with the first 2 rounds, really get into that. Dolphins, do a few different types of these. Yeah. Yeah, JC, I'm guessing not either. Just out of like, especially the top guys, they're probably going to be gone. I wouldn't mind like in a trade back going after like a Jordan Morgan type, but I would think at 21 he's a little bit of a reach. And then, okay, we'll start here. I'm going to hide the trades for now. I think, these trades are just very unrealistic, so usually I just avoid doing the trades. I know we might do some later on, but so Mims goes right before 21. I do think Mims is someone that I think Mims verse they'd be interested in. I'm starting to feel like Byron Murphy will be gone by 21. Another guy I think's in play. But from like just the way the Dolphins have been talking, it does, and like the people they've brought in, it does feel less and less likely they're going to take D tackle early. Maybe they don't value that position as much in the first round. So it'll be interesting to see. But like at this point, yeah, they have JC Latham on the board. Johnny Noon, I still think is in play, an option. I think of Latham's there. That's kind of one. That's probably the one I think has the best chance out of like the Fuagas, the Troy Fatanu, you know, out of those guys that I think can play guard at the next level and also be a tackle. I think he's probably the one with the best chance to be there at 21. I still think it's probably unlikely, but he's there. Noon, I like these two options for sure. I'm not on the Chop Robinson train. I don't think they should go after corner. The only DB I would actually consider here at 21 is DeJean, because he can do like the safety stuff. And I think he'd just be a perfect scheme fit, kind of like playing that Kyle Hamilton role that they played for the Ravens, and DeJean would do that for the Dolphins. I still think Graham Barton is an option. I think out of the interior guys, the ones that are only really interior, I think he's like really the only option at 21. Like, I don't think Jackson Powers Johnson's going to be the pick, even though I like him, like maybe in a trade back. Just depends. But I think, out of this draft, at least, let me look through. Offense, defense. Yeah, I feel like the only guys I would really consider here are Latham, Johnny Noon, DeJean, and Barton. Everyone else. Yeah, they did sign 20 defensive tackles. And if you look back at like the Ravens, which, where Weaver comes from, they didn't really spend high capital on defensive tackle very often. And Dolphins already have Zach Sealer, who's a good player. They brought in Tart, who can start and be like a decent starter. And they have so many guys who like at least started last year or played in decent rotations that I think will do some stuff. But I think I want to do this first draft, go O-line first, because I think there's a high chance of that happening, and then see what we can get in the second, potentially going in a different direction. Because I really like Noon. I would really not be mad with Noon or DeJean. And I think Graham Barton's kind of like the option where you're like, okay, yeah, you go there if all your favorite guys are gone. And I like Latham. I know some people are a little split on him. For a guy of his size, I do think he's going to be more effective and consistent as a guard at the next level. He moves well for his size, but I do think, he's not as athletic as some of the top guys, but he definitely can create some movement in the running game. I feel like he's really technically sound too. Really has some powerful hands, but yeah, I'm going to go with Latham first, see where this ends up rolling out, getting into the second, and picking at 55. I do think there is a chance. Actually, I've started to think, from everything we've seen, I think there's a higher chance the Dolphins trade back. I think there's a higher chance they trade back in the second and the first. I feel like at the 21 range is usually, if you trade back too far, then those guys with your first round grades are very less likely to be there. And I feel like you kind of want to get one of those guys. So that's why. And then once you get to 55, I feel like a lot of the like 30 to 40 range guys will be gone. Maybe someone on the board will have good value for you. But I also think if you trade back, you can get someone with similar of value. So I think that's an option here. Obviously not taking Penix. Would be down to take Nubin. I saw there was like a report today that the Dolphins are like interested in, or it wasn't a report. It was just like the odds of who the Dolphins are going to take in the draft. And Tyler Nubin was like the third highest odds player on the list after like Barton and Jackson Powers Johnson. Not sure where they're getting those odds from. I forget who put those out, but that surprised me. But at least at 21, I wouldn't take Nubin. At 55, I think he'd be a great pick. I think Rook from Clemson's in play here. Leonard Taylor is really that's way too high in my opinion. Some other interesting options. Chris Braswell at edge. Probably not these edges. Like, they're not bad players, but I think 55 is a little too steep in my opinion. Jalen Polk, Malachi Corley. If they want to go receiver, I do think receiver is in play. Like Leggett and Troy Fulton could run two plays back to back right before Miami. Leggett would have been my pick here, but I do think Malachi Corley just seems like a Dolphins player. Look at all the moves they've made since McDaniel's come in with the guys they've taken, like Ezukanma, taking Elijah Higgins, getting receivers. Well, Higgins was a receiver to tight end convert. Guys that can be physical and create after the catch. They brought in Jonnu Smith. I just feel like those are the players he likes, and he's probably the best yak player in this class. So I think Corley's in play. Jenkins wouldn't be bad here as well, another defensive tackle. Scrolling down, I'm not maybe Fisk, but with the other value on the board, I probably Fisk is in play though too. I like Dorless a lot, but that's probably more of a trade back. Their rankings are pretty weird because I feel like Persal would be in play if they wanted to go receiver. Cole Bishop, who I recently made that video on today. If I wanted to go safety and Newbin wasn't on the board, I probably would very much consider him. Teasel, you're on the Cooper DeJean train. I mean, I respect that. I mean, I definitely would not be bad about that pick because he could do it all. I just feel like people are going to see a corner because he played corner and just think they did it again and we don't need that. But he's a type of guy that would bring value in so many different ways. I think I'm just going to go Newbin here and then let that play out. We got JC Latham, Tyler Newbin. You get, Newbin comes in as your third safety. You get 2 day one contributors. Newbin technically wouldn't be a starter, but I still feel like he would play like at least half the snaps and, potentially with an injury. And then after Poyer leaves in a year, he becomes your starter next to Holland, which is good. And then Latham would be your guard year one, either, right guard, left guard, wherever you want to put him. And then potentially move him to tackle in year 2. We'll see how that, would play out. Interesting way to go. We'll do another one. And now it's white. Okay. It always does this. Whenever I go to the second one, it becomes... Sorry if you guys are getting flashbang. There's nothing I can do. It won't fix unless I restart. Yeah, I think I like Chris Jenkins. He's not my favorite D tackle in the class, but there's definitely a lot of upside there. Like if you watch his game in the championship game, like because if Jenkins gets more of a pass rush plan, that's kind of how I feel about Rook also from Clemson. If they can just get build more of a plan, use more of a repertoire, they could be really special. Because Chris Jenkins showed some moves in that Washington game, the championship game, and it was really impressive with the spins and things. Because he has all the physical tools. He just has to be able to put it together. Okay, so this is interesting. Brian Thomas Jr. I feel like if the Dolphins were to go to receiver at 21, Brian Thomas Jr. is probably the only guy I would feel super comfortable with at 21. I feel like all the other guys would be considered for me in trade backs. But yeah, I like that. The D tackle thing, might do that later on. DeJean again might. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's kind of where I would go. I also think Darius Robinson in a trade back wouldn't be a bad move, getting an edge and D tackle type. I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. here because I really like him as a player. I hadn't watched a lot of the top receivers in a while because, I watched them all a lot earlier in the process, and I went back and watched Brian Thomas Jr. recently, and I really love his game. Usually with these guys that have a lot to work on, I feel like, you look at players, their different warts, whatever you want to call it, their weaknesses. You have to ask yourself, can you deal with that? Can you, can they be coached up? I think Brian Thomas Jr. shows he's a pretty smart player, and I think he can potentially be coached up, and I'm a big fan of him. So I'm going to go Brian Thomas Jr. Love his vertical game. Really good tracker as well. And he gives a little bit more physicality and size to the Dolphins receiver. Just want to try different looks here. And then, yeah, now we got... So this would be like a wide receiver D tackle angle. Who do they have on any guards or tackles? They have Rosengarten, Karen Ahmedmagaj. I can never say his name. And I'll never... I just got to give up. Those would be... They have them ranked at 86 and 91 here. I feel like they would be considered at this position. Wouldn't be my highest player available, so... I like Mahogany a lot. It looks like a lot of their guards are gone. When did... Yeah, Christian Haynes went at 41. That's like my favorite guard option. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably go Rook, high upside, defensive tackle. Is that what direction I want to go? Yeah, I think on this board, I would go Rook. Really has some pop in his hands. And I'm pretty sure he hasn't been playing football that long, and he already looks pretty technically sound. I feel like once he gets more of, especially versus the run, once he really understands how to rush the passer, he's an interesting player in this class. Okay, restart. Let me go here real quick. Okay. Let me move this down a tiny bit. Did that move at all? Probably not. Okay. Let me take a look at some of my notes on some of the people I just took. Where's Rook? Okay, Rook right here. Oh yeah, so I have Rook. Quality play strength, close up well at the point of attack, good interior versatility. Yeah, I remember he brought some interesting looks with, I think you can line up him all across the line, and he would be interesting, in this defensive scheme. And he can win. Oh, he wins really well on the backside of run game. He definitely has that lateral agility. He has the nice overall athleticism and length. He's pass rush. He has a lot of pass rush flashes. It's just a little inconsistent. Needs more of a plan and better overall technique, but his potential through the roof. And then Ryan Thomas Jr., he's my fourth receiver, elite deep threat with top vertical speed, great tracking, can make contested catches, which I think is big for him. Body control, size, catch radius, dipping shoulders to avoid reroutes. I think, his weaknesses, he needs to add like a full route tree. He didn't get to really run that at LSU, but he did open up a lot of space. I feel like that's for Neighbors, with how many times he would pull double coverage deep, he would open up a lot of space for Neighbors to work with. I think his movement skills are really good, but when he gets the ball in his hands, his movement skills can be a little off at times. Nice, Scotty. Yeah, watched all of Corley catches past year, and I love his toughness, but his route tree seems limited. Yeah, that's like the biggest question mark with Corley. He just needs to end up in the right. I feel like if he ended up in Miami, it would be the right place for him. They'd really know how to utilize his skill set, especially because a lot of time in Miami, you don't have to run usually it's a lot of timing based routes. You kind of just have to get to your spot. Don't have to create a ton of separation. You're not facing man all the time. But he's one of the best yak players in the country. I think he had the best yak in the country, one of the best yaks ever. But yeah, he definitely needs to develop that route tree. He did look better running routes at the Senior Bowl, which gives me a little more hope because he didn't get to really run any crazy routes at Western Kentucky. But so we'll see how that ends up playing out. Let's go back into another mock draft. Open this up. Go there. Boom. Let's do a full 7. Why not? Go fast. Once we get to the later rounds, though, we'll see if, I haven't watched film on hundreds of players. I've seen a lot of them, but. Okay. Okay, let's see. They're offering pick 49, no, that's a horrible trade. Reject. So they have Mims. Mims keeps going at 20 in these mocks. That's interesting. I feel like Mims is in play, but I do think he kind of goes probably around this range. Would be not my favorite pick for the Dolphins, but definitely not the worst. I mean, Fatanu on the board. I wouldn't even hesitate if this happened. Usually, if I don't think the pick's gonna happen, I just kind of ignore it. If Joe All was here, I would just ignore it. There's no way he's gonna be there. I do think Fatanu has a slight chance of being there, but I'm not super ecstatic about it. I don't. But Fatanu is one of my favorite fits in this draft for the Dolphins. Left guard year 1, and then becomes your left tackle of the future once Armstead retires. His recovery ability. He has some of the most fun tapes to watch in this class when it comes to offensive linemen. His body control, footwork, athleticism in the running game. He plays with some nastiness too, which I think is important, but he also has that lateral quickness to work on that outside zone heavy scheme. And honestly, sometimes I've seen him get beat on the outside. I do think he might even be a better guard, less space to work with, because I think he can hold up well with a good enough anchor. And then his athleticism, he would easily outmatch most athletes on the interior. But let me go Fatanu here first. Let's see. Spider, am I delusional, or is Chris Greer going to either trade up for Bowers if he falls to 15, take a blue chip, one of the best, or trade down with pick 21 to get more picks? I mean, I'm not against. If they were to trade up, I feel like it would either be Bowers or one of those O linemen that they really like a Fatanu. But I don't see them trading up much because they don't really have the capital. They would have to use next year's capital, and that would probably be the 3rd round comp pick types that they'd have to use. And you'd only be able to move up probably a few spots with that. Trading back, I talked about it earlier. I feel like from the Chris Greer press conference, unless all their 1st round guys are gone, which they have probably around 15 to 20. which usually some people fall because quarterbacks get taken that they probably don't have first round grades on. So I think one of those guys are going to be there. I would love to trade back, so I'm starting to think they're less likely to trade back. I mean, Xavier Leggett's on the board. I mean, if the Dolphins get Fatanu and Leggett first 2 rounds, I don't even care what happens in the next 2. Leggett is like an absolute freak. The way he's built, you get the big size that you want, but also has still the fast play speed to fit within your scheme. Yard after catch, tough to bring down. Also can make plays down the field. But yeah, that's the direction you go. We'll see who now. This is when we get to like the 5th round, but I would love to trade back. But honestly, at this point, I'm just guessing they're gonna. I mean, it's the most likely. I think they stay at 21 and they just take their best player available. And I don't think position is gonna matter to them as much as like some of the fans think, because they're obviously not gonna take like quarterback or running back. Like they're not gonna get quarterback. There's no running back worth it. I don't see them taking any tight end outside of Bowers unless he's there at 21, which I don't think that's gonna happen. So I think they could really go any O-line across the board if their best player available. I think they could go edge, D tackle. I think, when you're thinking of that 2-year plan, I think edge becomes very likely. I feel like a lot of people are thinking Jared Verse could be there at 21 and he would be potentially best player available, and I would not be mad about that at all. I think that'd be a really good pick. And I think that's one that could really happen. And I think if they were to go DB, it would be like someone like DeJean, or maybe one of the top guys fell that they really liked. But yeah. And then once we get here, okay. So who did we take? We took Fatanu and Leggett. Yeah, I mean, absolutely home run. And once you get to here, there's some interesting players. Top running backs on the board. I probably not going to go in that direction. Theo Johnson. I think Jaheim Bell would actually be really interesting in the Dolphins offense. He's kind of a Jonnu Smith type, though. But that would be interesting. Zach Sinter's not a bad player. I just don't like his scheme fit for the Dolphins. Let's see. Let's look at our just went receiver, tight end, tackle. Christian Jones, Javon Foster, not bad players. T. Christian Boyd, Keith Randall. I like Muhammad Kamara. I might wait to see if he ends up there at the next pick. You know what? I think I'm going to go. I think Christian Jones is pretty underrated as the Texas tackle. And we didn't, or actually, I already went O-line. I forgot I went Fatanu in the first. Let's do defense safeties. Yeah, let's go with Oladapo from Oregon State. He's interesting. I think I'm gonna do a video on him later, so we'll talk about him, or potentially. But yeah, he's got some interesting traits to his game. Haven't done like the full-on film breakdown yet, so. But yeah, I definitely liked his game when I watched him. Eric All, Christian Boyd. I want to be mad going Christian Boyd at this point. Definitely like an explosive 3-tech type. Just a limited length, which hurts his game. But he can create a lot of disruption in the backfield. Moves very well. And if they're going to go defensive tackle, if you get someone like Boyd, I feel like there's some upside to work with here at this point in the draft. Let's see. I mean, at this point, we've gone tackle, receiver, safety, defensive tackle, which I think are all pretty big needs for the Dolphins. I think once you get to these later rounds, they can really go in any direction. You kind of really go to best player available, even if you don't necessarily need that position. I do think potentially some of the tight ends here are interesting to me. I actually like all these top 3 a lot, especially at this point in the draft. I think Tip Raymond's one of the better blocking tight ends in the draft. Oker brings a lot as a receiving threat, and I think Barner has pretty high upside, and it's kind of an in-between type of player comparatively to both of them. Barner can bring some blocking and some athleticism. I actually don't even think Barner will be on the board here at this point. I'm just going to go Barner and see how that plays out. We have one more. Round 7, right? Yeah, we'll see who's even left. Okay, we'll go QB. Actually, Austin Reed, he's the QB for Corley. He's one of the only late round QBs I've actually watched that was not horrible. If they want to, go for a backup plan later on. And let's go there. Boom. What about Karen from Yale? However you say his last name. Yeah, he's not a bad, but he's just his film is tough because um he's a super high upside O line type here. I have notes on him actually. Let me pull it up. Let's see. He kind of gives me the same vibes as Kingsley Sumatea from BYU, who I like a little bit more than him. But they're both ridiculous athletes. He has ridiculous. His arm length is insane. So he has a lot of physical tools to really work with. Great overall athleticism, but he's very raw. Like with his hands, his feet, the level of competition. Good point. That's because sometimes you have, if you're playing that level of competition, you have to dominate and bully every play, which he does have his reps where he dominates and bullies some people out there. But I need to see it more. I feel like his hand placement is very inconsistent. He's more of a lunger. And to me, in like round 1 and 2, the Dolphins really haven't had top picks in a while. It's been 2 years. Look at the people they need to pay. Really, they only need to pay Tua and then the 3 guys from 2021 with Waddle, Phillips, and Holland. After that, there's not many young guys on the roster. They need to really pay big money because they haven't had that many picks very high up in a while, which they need to start hitting on these guys, get some guys who are day one contributors because they're very, very close. But yeah, I'm not on that train. Yeah. Scotty, I agree with Kieran. I don't agree with Barton personally. I think Barton's an absolute stud. He's good right now. But yeah, he's overrated in the sense of the versatility that he's going to play tackle. But I just think he's an absolute stud on the interior. But yeah, I think about this. It's just tough for me with the high potential raw guys like that we talked about with the tackles. You know, Tyler Guyton, Chop Robinson. They have a lot of physical and athletic traits, and I don't think they're the worst picks in the world. But your coaching staff has to absolutely kill it and really take them to the next level. And to me, I'd rather just take a player who's really good right now and stick with that. And then once you go on later in the draft, you can start taking some of those high upside development types, and then you don't have to spend super high draft capital. Let's do another one. As purely a guard, do you like Barton over Haynes? Yes. I would have Barton a little bit over Haynes. I have Barton as like a late first round interior guy. I have early second on Haynes. So yeah, but pretty close though. They're 2 of my favorite interior options for the Dolphins. Both very athletic, technically sound. Barton's very technically sound, but also looks to absolutely dominate you. Haynes a little undersized, but I really like his game too. Do another 7-run mock. Come on, what is it? PFN? Pro Football Network? Yeah. What the fuck just happened? Oh shit. Okay, 1 second. I didn't pick the Dolphins. Now, let's see who ends up being on the board. You know what? I would actually really consider this trade. Okay, let's accept it. Let's accept this one. Because we're moving back 2 spots to get a late third. It's not bad. Now, do you miss out on Jared Verse? But I like Jared Verse a lot. I like JC Latham a lot. I like Johnny Newton a lot. Like, I like all these top guys, so I wouldn't mind moving back just 2 spots. Usually don't accept trades, but now Jared Verse still on the board. They want to give pick 23, pick 32. Honestly, I'm not going to trade back again, but that's something I would consider. You pick up another second and a third to go back to 32. But yeah, I'm going to go Jared Verse in this scenario. I feel like that's a pretty high likelihood. One of the guys I think has a decent chance of being a Dolphin, especially if he's there on the board. No, I'm not taking a 2025. Yeah, we took Jared Verse. Tyler Nubin's on the board again, who I would definitely consider, but I kind of want to, go in a different direction this time. let's go Corley this time. We took Verse in the first. We get Corley, who's just a great scheme fit and would add a fun dynamic, a different type. Because Dolphins have a lot of good yak players, but I feel like Corley is a different type of guy with his yak ability after the catch, and would be absolutely punishing. Waddle and Hill are going to make you miss and make big plays. Having Corley and Johnny Smith who can break tackles and have the speed to make people miss definitely adds a fun dynamic to the offense. And I just feel like Mike McDaniel's going to fall in love with him as a player. Let's see. 91. Cole Bishop should go. Damn, Cole Bishop went at 87. I really want a Cole Bishop, to be honest. Let's see who's left on the board. Okay, so yeah, they have still. See, now if you're at pick 91, you want to take Kieran. I'm not mad about that. And that's where you want to go for the guards. Guards, Mason McCormick would be a pretty solid pick here. I also like Blake Fisher a lot. Now, do you go for Blake Fisher, I also think would be a solid fit? Dominic Puny and don't. Oh, honestly, I like all four of these players who went right before the Dolphins. Fisher is interesting as well. I really like him from Notre Dame. I have a 3rd round grade on both of these players. I think Fisher is a little more ready to play right now, though. But the Yale guy has higher upside. But to be fair, at this point, you don't need either to start year one. So I think, I'm going to go with the Yale kid because I think that's what the Dolphins would do. But I might go Blake Fisher in an actual scenario. What do we got next? What do we got next? Oh yeah, this is where we... God, I hope they trade back because it's going to be so long after their 2nd round pick when they pick again. Hide that. We went edge. Yeah. I mean, if we want to go in the theme of yak with, some bigger body guys, you go Jaheim Bell and he can become your H-back type. He would be intriguing within this offense. Ray Davis I like, but I probably wouldn't go there. Ike Smith from Georgia, I'm a big fan of him. He's like a nickel safety type, very instinctive. One of the best players versus screens in this class. Just gets downhill, does his job. Very versatile safety. I think at 158, that'd be really good value. Let's see what else is on the board, though. My quarterbacks, I like Garendo. Wouldn't be mad about that here if they wanted to go in a running back direction. Receivers. Look like a lot of the top receivers are gone. I do like a lot of these players, though. I like Jackson for his yak ability, could be a returner. Big time playmaker. I think Whittington's a really good scheme fit, but he's probably a little bit later for you to look at. Same with Anaya Smith, another good scheme fit that I think they would like. Tight end Jaheim Bell, Eric All, both of those guys. Definitely intriguing options. I think I'm gonna go Tyke Smith because I like his versatility, and I feel like he's like a 3rd, 4th round player for me. And then once you get later on, I mean, do we have to taken a D tackle yet? Let's go Gabe Hall. He's not bad. Do they have notes on these players? Yeah, let's see. He's often playing as a big end in 3-4. Yep, meaning he's not producing or flashing others that makes him stand out. He doesn't have the speed or flexibility to ever be as good as a pass rusher. Yeah, but he definitely plays with a high energy and hustle. But once you get him a player like that, he can be pretty productive, I think, at this point in the draft. Did we just see? Oh yeah, Muhammad Kamara. Absolutely. I'm going to make a video on him very soon. Really productive edge rusher, a little undersized, but has different moves in the repertoire. It's a pretty fun player to watch. And then we get here. We took edge, O-line, safety, D tackle. Yeah, we pretty much took every position of need. Any fun running backs? Let's go Rasheen Ali. That is it. Boom. Jared Verse, Malachi Corley, Kieran Megaji, Tyke Smith, Gabe Hall, Muhammad Kamara, Rasheen Ali. Not a bad draft. Probably not my favorite one. I mean, the Fatanu and Leggett one is undefeated. You can't beat that. Boom. I think Isaac Garendo is the best fit for the Dolphins. I agree, actually. Yeah, I literally have it like on my notes list. I have like players highlighted, and like aqua that I think are good Dolphins fits, and on running backs, I only have Garendo and Rasheen Ali highlighted currently. Those are definitely my favorite fits. He's like Garendo's like a perfect outside zone scheme fit. He tested so well. I feel like the Dolphins brought him in on a visit. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he also brings a little more size to the running back room, which is nice too. But he is a perfect one cut style runner, really athletic, has the big play capability. I would love Garendo, especially if he's there. Like if you get him in the 5th round, yeah, you take that all day. I'm not mad about that at all. I just don't think running back is the biggest need, but after the first 2 rounds, you don't really need to focus on need because you don't have a 3rd or a 4th in this class. And once you get to you're just trying to get good players at that point in the draft. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Or anything about the draft and anything to do with these mock drafts, players you'd like to see them take? Because I really think the Dolphins have to get a day 1 contributor, like on round 1 and pick round 2. Like they're very close. They have the resources to where they're not gonna have to pay anyone crazy much money. You got to hit on these people because you haven't had these picks in a while. You haven't had a first rounder in 2 years, which is insane. Which is absolutely insane to think about. Do I have notes on Cole Bishop? I do, yeah. I also want to I'll talk about Cole Bishop because I made that video on him today. Just real quick. Tough guy, tough, good size, overall physical player. Love the versatility. He can play split field, play in the box, can match in the slot, which he got to show at the Senior Bowl, but he's overall smart, good athleticism, has solid range, good ball skills, triggers downhill nicely. Just need to see him play more man-to-man, and I do think, he's less of a post-field safety, playing like single high. He doesn't have like the elite range. Rendo has size but doesn't run tough. Yeah, I've seen that take, and I understand. Like, I don't think he's like the most physical back, but I do think he's not like your ideal short yardage player. But I do think he runs tougher than I think people have given him credit for. But it's more about his athleticism, and he can still break tackles out in space. And I think his athleticism, even on the film, is underrated. I know he tested insanely, but people were like, "Oh, he's not as good an athlete," but the way he transitions up the field and how fluid he is super impressive at his size. Which is your favorite D tackle? My favorite D tackle to watch is probably Brandon Dorless from Oregon. Super fun player, but he's kind of a tweener, a little undersized, could possibly play like a big edge at times too. But yeah, versatile, very quick. Like he dominates with quickness. Has a lot of like a great pass rush repertoire. He just wins a lot. And when he wins, he knows how to finish too. I think early on you see him as like a early pass rush type on the interior, and then maybe develop him. He can be on early downs, obvious running situations. Maybe play as like an edge, set the edge. He can do that. He knows how to use his hands. He has the length. He has great balance and body control. Love all the athletic traits that he has. Just undersized, can struggle versus double teams on the interior. That's why you probably don't want him playing versus the run full time in there. And yeah, just the power in those situations. But I do like Dorless a lot. This D tackle class is pretty good. Like Newton and Murphy at the top, very, very strong. And then after that, the second round guys, it's just a lot of high upside guys or guys who are a little more one dimensional, but have very strong traits. Michael Hall from Ohio State's also very interesting. Another undersized, very good pass rusher that I think teams are going to really. Someone's going to fall with Michael Hall Jr. and he's going to go earlier than I think people think. I'm just ready for the draft to come. It's a week away. Finally, just a week away. I'm probably going to do a couple more streams before the draft. Like I don't know. I'm going to do like a predictive, like a final mock draft stream, like a day before the draft, where it's just not like I'm doing like on a simulator or anything. I'm just gonna have like film pulled up on all the players that I think they're gonna draft to pick 21, 55, etc. And just like what I think the Dolphins are gonna do, and then explain why. And then yeah, probably do edges, DBs, like I've been doing with random streams where we just talk about players down the line. I've had several mocks with QB Michael Penix Jr. in round 2. Yeah, okay. And what are your thoughts on a situation when having such high value QB for that round sitting there? For me, one, I am from Tennessee. I actually work for a company where I have to go to the University of Tennessee games. I went to all the home games and would gather data. So I've seen a lot of Joe Milton. Personally, I would not draft Joe Milton. I think he is not very good at playing the position of quarterback, but I would not take him. Michael Penix Jr., I actually don't mind him as a prospect. He's not my favorite QB prospect. I understand you probably get some decent value if he was there and, like around 2 or something, but it's kind of just a waste of a pick. I don't think he's a very good scheme fit either. So like, I wouldn't draft Joe Milton. The Penix thing, like if he falls, I get it, but maybe use that more of like for trade leverage at that point in the draft. But yeah, I think just because Penix is lefty, some people kind of think he could be a replacement for Tua or backup for Tua, but they're actually very, very different players. And I don't think Penix is a good deep ball thrower. I don't think he's a good timing accuracy thrower over the middle of the field. I don't think that's his strength. And I think he would struggle within the offense scheme. So I personally wouldn't go in that direction. I don't mind taking a QB at some point later on because, you're probably going to move on from Mike White. I don't think Skylar Thompson is very good either. But those two guys specifically, yeah, I probably wouldn't go for that. Especially Joe Milton. I wouldn't even draft Joe Milton at all. I wouldn't even take him in the 7th. Unless you're going to play him at tight end. He's a great athlete. Just not for me. I've seen too much. I've seen too much, and I don't want to see any more of Joe Milton. Michael Pratt's a good one. Michael Pratt, I think, is going to go but Michael Pratt would probably go in the 3rd or 4th if I had to guess. I feel like Pratt's probably one of out of not the top names, then you have Spencer Rattler in round 2. I feel like after those guys, after Penix, Bo Nix, Rattler, I feel like Pratt's that next guy up. He's pretty solid. Carter Bradley, I haven't watched him, but I've heard the name. I don't remember where. Yeah, I really. Honestly, I'm trying to think honestly, out of the QBs that would be good fits for the Dolphins, I don't know. Out of the top guys, I feel like the best fit would probably be JJ McCarthy, and I'm not taking JJ McCarthy in round 1 or 2. Yeah, Tua would be. I mean, Tua went 5th overall. I think Tua went 5th overall and he would have gone to the Chargers at 6 if the Dolphins didn't take him after having a major hip injury. But yeah, I do like Michael Pratt. Yeah. The problem with Penix is, I think, it depends. It depends on what game you watch. If you watch Penix in the football playoff is a good example. His game versus Texas is amazing. He looks like one of the best QB prospects in the draft. And then you watch the championship game, and he was all over the place. He's one of the most inconsistent QBs I've watched in this draft class. Really high flashes. When his flash is good, it's really high. When he flashes bad, he can't hit anything. It's really, really crazy. Plus, he had 3. All 3 of those receivers are going to get Odunze is going to go top 10, and McMillan and Polk are day 2 guys. So. And he also had other players their 2 tight ends were pretty solid players. Dylan Johnson, solid running back, but yeah. Okay, I guess let's do a 2-rounder, another 2-rounder. See how this one plays out. Boom, boom. Some quick 2-rounders. See, if we get different looks, how these play out. Just look at the actual mock draft. Hide that real quick. So they keep having PFN seems to think Latham's gonna fall. They have Amirius Mims go at 20 to the Steelers again. But when we look at this draft, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. I do think QBs going top 3 is pretty likely. So I don't know which ones. It could be switched around or add McCarthy in there. But that seems like it could happen. That should happen. Harrison Jr. at 4, Malik Neighbors at 5, McCarthy at 6. This top 7 feels like it's very capable of happening. All these guys will be gone, so that's a good thing. We want to see those guys go. I think Turner goes around this range. I think Arnold will be gone. I think Fashanu will be gone, which is nice. I think Newton is pretty 50-50 whether he'll be there or not. Odunze will be gone. Fatanu and Fuago will most likely be gone. Same with Bowers. Latu, if his medicals checks out, should be gone. Verse could be there at 21, but if he's gone, we'll see. Like, you still have some options here. Like, I think Byron Murphy could be gone, who's not gone at this point. And then there's still like corners like Mitchell and Marius Mims. So even with like a very realistic draft happening here, like I could see all of these players not being there on the board for Miami. You still get Latham, a guy who could be like a tackle to guard convert. You still have Byron Murphy, who is a very good defensive tackle prospect. You have DeJean. You still have some good offensive line interior guys like Barton and Jax Powers Johnson. I like Barton a lot. Jax Powers Johnson will be more of a trade back. But even in this, which a scenario where it's probably not perfect for the Dolphins, like you don't have as many options as you'd probably like, there's still some quality players on this board. This would not be a bad trade back board, in my opinion, though, unless you really like Latham. But you could trade back and still end up with possibly Barton or, DeJean, depending on how it ends up playing out. I took Latham in one. We'll go Byron Murphy this time around just to see it, how this works, but it's not a terrible board. And it was fairly realistic, at least the players that went. I don't know if they're going to go in that order. They keep having Tyler Dubin be here. That would be not a bad pick. They have Leggett being here. Pretty unrealistic. Like, I don't think Roman Wilson will be gone. I think Jalen Polk has a decent chance of being there. Let's see. What do they have Christian Haynes going? They had Christian Haynes go 27th overall. Damn. They had Bard go after Haynes in this one. 31. Interesting. See, the Ravens ended up with DeJean. Damn, DeJean and Hamilton is a disgusting duo. We went D tackle and I went, like, which tackle? See, this is where you think, when you get here, though, like, the tackles are gone. Like, Jordan Morgan won one pick before. If Jordan Morgan was there at 55, it might be one of the best picks they could make. But, like, the tackles are not looking great unless you want to go for the high upside with Yale. I like Rosengarten a lot. But with most people I've seen, they have Rosengarten ranked as like a third rounder, which they have him here as that. I kind of have him as a late second. I'm pretty high on him. He's a really, really good athlete. I think he's a great scheme fit. He also might be a guy that might be more of a guard at the next level too. I think if you get this, I mean, you just take like Leggett or Nubin are great value at this point. Okay, let me go back, change screens. Devin Leary looks good at times. Yeah, I remember I watched Devin Leary a lot like a couple years ago, so I haven't seen how he played this year. I haven't watched this film this year, but I remember thinking, there was something there. Oh no, I feel you, T. Still just throwing out different strategies. Yeah, different way. That's why I'm like kind of doing different mock drafts, kind of taking different players in each spot, even if it isn't exactly what I would do, just to see like how things play out. That's why I think, I've started to think, the more I do these mock drafts, like the more I think an O-line pick happens in the first, 2 rounds, even in a trade back, because like there's not the O-line, I feel like is going to really fall off in this class, especially specifically the tackles. The tackles, I feel like it's very strong at the top, and it's going to be hard to find a tackle outside of the first 2 rounds. Yeah, Newton was gone. I think Newton went like 12th in that draft. Yeah, let's go. Boom, there again. Let's do another one. Another quick 2-rounder. I want to see how these play out. I just want to look at the boards because, yeah, they have pretty similar early on. See, this is another draft. I feel like every name you see here has a very decent chance. Like, most of these names could all easily go before 21, I feel like. Some of them could not, and, you could see, like, a Byron Murphy be gone. Maybe one of these DBs, like Wiggins or DeJean. Maybe a Graham Barton, maybe, Brian Thomas Jr. But if you get, like, there's a chance, like, with how this board play out, Brian Thomas Jr. could be there at 21, and, like, that's not a terrible pick. Byron Murphy here again. What I've seen, and, like, from other fan bases, it seems like Murphy could easily go to the Bengals. Like, the Bengals really like him, and, like, I think his over-under is like 16.5 of where he's going to get drafted. So they expect him to be gone before 21 as well. And that would just drop one of these guys down. But there's still decent options there. Like Brian Thomas Jr. at 21. I know it's like probably not the biggest need. I think wide receiver is a bigger need than some people think, but I feel like that's such a hard place to pass up. Special teams. um, yeah. Yeah, this one's a little different than last time, but Latham went one pick before the Dolphins this time, and that left you with Brian Thomas Jr., which Brian Thomas Jr. would be my best player available at this point, so I would probably go in that direction, but I'm a BPA kind of guy. And yeah, look, Penix Jr. here at the board on 55. Probably not where I'd go. Zach Frazier is interesting. I know he's a center from West Virginia, but Zach Frazier is good. That guy is legit. Problem is, could he play guard? Probably. And I wouldn't be mad about that pick at 55. I think Frazier will be gone. I think Frazier's I think Frazier goes somewhere between like 30 to 40-ish range. Some interesting names here though. Let's go. We'll go with Frazier. I do like him as a player. Okay. I'd snag Frazier. Yep. That was. I think Zach Frazier's just legit. I feel like he's one of the. Let's pull up. Let's see what I have on Zach. I got notes on him here somewhere. Yep, I have him and Jackson Powers Johnson rated very similarly at the top of the draft as the top centers. Very good in the run game, very smart, tough. I use twists and stunts very well. Good natural leverage, nice anchor. Can play in both a gap and a zone scheme, but I think he's a better in a gap scheme. Knows how to torque people. Really good when he's working like those base blocks, drive blocks, backside type of stuff. I don't think he's like a. Yeah, I think he can play guard. I do think he's more fit for center. It's what he's used to, but I do think he can play some guard. I think his athleticism is decent. It's not like elite or anything. He's very limited lengthwise, which is why usually when those guys have very limited length, they are more you can mask the weaknesses of him more at center than at guard. But overall, he doesn't I don't think he has elite range either. But he has pretty solid lateral quickness, which I think enough to excel in the zone scheme. And he's a pretty he's just one of those prospects who I don't think has a ton of weaknesses. He doesn't have crazy big strengths, but he just gets the job done very consistently. Any reason you don't use PFF mock draft subscription versus free? Yeah, pretty much. Cause I'm pretty sure if I go to PFF, I can do the first 3 rounds, right? I mean, I can pull it up. I'll do some, 2 rounders on PFF. The only reason is because if I wanted to do the full 7, it doesn't let you, right? Fast offense. Let's see. Let's try out PFF. Start draft. Yeah. Well, they have DeJean ranked 8th here. Have I taken DeJean in a draft? I think I'm going to take him now. So this is interesting. Oh, Latu's on the board. I mean, this is a good board. I really like DeJean, really like Latu, really like Noon. Not a fan of Mitchell personally. I think he could work out, but I think specifically for the Dolphins, I think he's one of the worst receiver fits for them in this class. Just based on his play style, gives you nothing after the catch. Very inconsistent with his effort, and not a good blocker either. Which he has some really good strengths to his game, but apparently he has the. I think there was some report yesterday or 2 days ago about him having diabetes and how he's managed that, and it hasn't been that great, and that's kind of a reason for some of the effort stuff. That's kind of just concerning, but yeah. Interesting group of people here. They have some different rankings for sure, but yeah, I'm gonna go to DeJean. I haven't gone with DeJean yet. But I do think, yeah, DeJean could be corner, nickel, big safety type for you. Play as that bigger nickel, third safety, which would be very interesting to see how he works in that kind of system. He's very smart, very athletic, explosive, good ball skills. And let's see, at 55, Sanders is their top option at 55. Personally, I don't. I think I'm not as high on Sanders. I think I have Ben Sinnott as my tight end 2. Sanders it's a little steep for me at pick 55 personally. Now they have Purcell at rank 45. It's just different types of boards. I like Bullard as a safety option if they were going to go in that direction, but I just took DeJean, so we're not going to do that. Jenkins, they have Jaden Hicks ranked pretty high as well. Oh, they have Christian Haynes. Oh yeah, so I would go Christian Haynes here. Christian Haynes is one of my favorite options at 55. Great scheme fit. We just got 2 players who I think are going to be great scheme fits, and both would play a lot. Very athletic, Haynes. Perfect outside zone type of player. Some of the if you see my film breakdown on him, some of the best cutoffs, that he's doing out there. Really good reach blocker. Really good angles. Plays with really good leverage. And has, for being undersized, also has some pretty good length for his size, which definitely helps him out. But yeah, I'd go Haynes. Yes. Grade my draft. What is it? I'm not subscribing. An A, nice. It's a new one. Daily draft limit reached. Okay. Okay, we won't. Go there. I would take Purcell or Haynes. Yeah, I think Purcell would definitely be. He's a receiver that I think would be a nice complement which the Dolphins have, and I think at 55 is pretty decent value for Purcell too. And for this receiver class is so good, so I would love to come away with one of the receivers in the first 2 rounds. I'm not be mad about it. Maybe trade back, even take one in round 3. But even the round 5 guys, I think Anaya Smith, Luke McCaffrey, I feel like they would love those players. There's some late round guys, maybe Jacob Cowing falls there, or Malik Washington falls farther than expected. Jaquan Jackson from Tulane. Super late round guys like Anthony Gold. Lots of guys that are very intriguing in the draft class, even the super late round guys. Yeah, I think O-line is the most likely at this point. For me, just guessing, I feel like O-line has, the highest likelihood of being the pick in the first 2 rounds. Really, I feel like this draft is really hard to predict. Last year, I really expected Achane to be a Dolphins. That one felt obvious to me. Cam Smith was very surprising. But usually there's Channing Tindall felt like he was going to be the pick for the Dolphins, and that was in the 3rd round, and he ended up being the pick. This one, I really there's so many directions, 21. I feel like everyone knew Waddle was going to be the pick. Usually there's a pick. I feel like this draft, it's very hard to predict compared to some of the other ones. 21 can go in many different directions. Depends on how some O-linemen that fall. See them just taking edge like a Jared Verse or a Laiatu Latu. Yeah. 2 receivers would surprise me, but I do understand this class is so good that I'm not mad about them taking 2 receivers at some point in the draft. Not the first 2 rounds, maybe one in the first 2 rounds and then a receiver later, but yeah. Especially if you went say you took a Brian Thomas Jr. in the first, and then you took with one of your later picks, Anaya Smith, 2 very different players. Plus Smith is also even has some experience playing running back, and he'd be a special teams guy. That would definitely be intriguing. I'm a fan of a lot of those types of moves. Okay. We're getting towards the end here. I mean, if people have questions, anything, we want any specific topics you guys want to talk about or anything like that, let me know. I mean, nothing, we'll just, on stream. I think the QB trades are going to throw this draft for a loop. Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point. You do all these mocks, and the biggest thing with the mocks, yes, the players seem like they would go in before 21, But with all the trades that could happen, like trades are so hard to predict that it ends up just changing so many people's styles. Like think about last year's draft. Like people weren't expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to go in the top 12. There's always a surprise player that sneaks in there. So there could easily be someone that falls that you're not expecting. Like I don't think Fatana is going to be there, but I don't think it's impossible. And if Fatana is there, you just run up to the board, say thank you very much to the NFL, and you take it away. Brennan Jackson, quality run defender, sets the edge well, high motor, good strength at the point of attack. He tested very well. I think he's a little more stiff. Like he's a bigger sized edge, definitely a run defender. I don't think he's like the super bendy fluid type. I think he needs more of a pass rush plan. But if he develops as a pass rusher, he's definitely intriguing. He does some things pretty nicely. I think he's just more of a linear athlete. But I do really enjoy him as a run defender. Wouldn't be mad if he's like a late round edge. But yeah, I do remember you recommending him. I always get some names in the chat that I haven't seen yet, but I have my edge list right here. I'm going to probably talk about them in a stream because I have a lot of them. I have Latu, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson, Chris Braswell, Gabriel Murphy, Austin Booker, Jonah Ellis, Marshawn Nealon, Grayson Murphy, Braylon Trice, Xavier Thomas, Javon Solomon, Mohamed Kamara, Nelson Caesar, Jalix Hunt, Cedric Johnson, Brennan Jackson, Brady McCrager, and Jalen Harrell. I have notes on all those guys. And that's not like a specific order. Even though I would have Latu first as my edge. And then I'd probably have Jared Verse. So I'm not as high on Dallas Turner. I think he's a little bit raw. And those guys are just very, very good players right now. And Latu is like, he's surgical out there, man, with his pass rush moves. And Verse is very powerful and also has a pretty quality pass rush plan and does some good things versus run. But yeah. And the problem with my Brennan Jackson notes, I don't have a ton of them because I only had one game of film on Brennan Jackson. So I wouldn't say I have like a full report on Jackson though as a player. Because with some of these players, it's hard to find film. And, once the draft happens, the Dolphins make their picks, I'll be making, an all 22 film breakdown on all of them. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted. That's just what I'm praying for, but I'll definitely be pulling up clips. And then, when I'm live streaming like the actual draft, I'll definitely try to pull up clips on the players they've picked. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to stream like the whole first round, at least until the Dolphins have picked, and then talk about the pick, and then maybe I'll do the rest of the draft after the fact. But we'll see. Also, Ryder, you do a great job, man. Keep it up. I read that earlier and I forgot to actually read it out loud. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate it. Yeah, so unless, give it a minute, see if you guys have any questions. But if not, I'm going to bounce. I still have to take notes on DBs here. I'm like halfway through the corners. Got to get to some of the safeties too. And then I'm probably not going to do a stream on like linebackers, running backs, quarterbacks. But I'll have notes on some of those guys so I can talk about it during the draft at least. I think the linebacker class is pretty weak overall though. Running back class doesn't have any like top end guys, but there's some fun players here in this class. And then quarterbacks, man. I'm not as high on this quarterback class personally. Oh shit, I just moved me. Accidentally. Oh, this webcam is on fire. Any safeties you like? Yes, I actually very enjoy the safety class. As I mentioned, Cole Bishop, I posted a video on him today. Big fan of his game. I think he would be a very intriguing third safety option for the Dolphins because he can play as like a big nickel type too. Very versatile, good size, athletic, smart. Respect Jonathan Brooks, damn it. Hey, Jonathan Brooks is my RB1, so I do respect him, Aaron, okay? God. No, but yeah, I like Cole Bishop a lot. I like Dadrian Taylor Demerson a lot for Texas Tech. Another guy that plays single high and nickel. Tyler Nubin, another good safety. Javon Bullard, all very intriguing. Malik Mustafa is another guy, depending on where he goes, would be intriguing to me, but he's like a strong safety type. Probably the best pure tackler. Jaden Hicks, another big athletic safety. just don't want him playing man to man really. But and then I think when it comes to like players like Cameron Kinchins, Kalen Bullock, they have some intriguing traits to me, but they're more like single high only types, and I have my concerns about them, like Kinchins with some like athletically, and then Bullock is very very thin, and he's not a very good tackler either. But there's some intriguing guys in this class. I think the Dolphins can trade future compensatory picks. The thing is, they have to do, Robbie. I think usually when it comes to like terms like that, you have to like you can trade. You can say like, oh, we'll trade you our third next year, but if we get a comp third pick, then it becomes the comp third. I'm pretty sure, like I've seen trades done like that, but yeah, you have to make sure there's another pick that they could have. So like, say we have pick 85 in the third round, like so we're trading you pick 85, but if we get a comp pick next year that's like pick 100 something, then that's the pick you actually get if you end up getting it. If that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that correctly. It's just like one of those yeah, I've watched the other Utah safety. Honestly, I think he's an intriguing player, and he's honestly, I think he might even be better of a running back than a safety. Intriguing, yeah, it'd have to be conditional pick. Yeah. So, but yeah, he's very versatile, very very versatile, and has some intriguing plays, some flashes on the film. Just consistency when it comes to him. According to a Giants fan, apparently. Odell Beckham is in agreement. Yeah, I think the Dolphins have a lot of players, like depending on how the draft goes, if they don't get one of the receivers they like early on, they could sign someone like an Odell Beckham, or if they don't get like their ideal guard, they could sign a Dalton Reisner. But yeah, those players. But I think for those positions specifically, I don't know what else they'll have right now. Or with like edge, and they brought in, was it one of the Lawsons? I can't remember. It was Shaq or Carl, but like he could come in if they don't get an edge that they want, because they need some edges that can play while Phillips and Chubb are rehabbing. But yeah. Okay, I mean, wait. Actually, I have a question for you guys. Everyone give me like your favorite player. Like, who's your guy in this class, or at least a few of them, because I know sometimes it's hard to boil it down to one. Because I have a list here of like my guys, and it's a list of like at least 15, and I feel like I'm still adding to it. What's up, Carl? Yeah, I asked that question, and as I read it, you posted Carl. So it makes me seem like your guys are Carl Lawson just from the delay. Or just like, yeah, someone you really think is like a Dolphin. Patanu, yes. Patanu's like, I feel like, usually when I have like my guys, I try to usually they'll end up being like kind of later round guys, because I feel like they're just super underrated. I feel like, Fatanu is probably like my first round guy. Like that, oh man, I want him. Dwayne Carter, okay, I like that. Very intriguing. Where are my notes on Carter? Yeah, I made a video on him. Yeah, good football IQ, solid quickness. He just has some amazing flashes as a pass rusher. Like, he's good versus the run on the backside of run. But yeah, he's an intriguing. I feel like he's one of those D tackles. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being one of the better ones in this class. Tyrese Knight, okay, interesting, intriguing linebacker. I'm super obsessed with Isaac Grendo. I agree. Grendo is one of my guys as well. Patanu, Haynes, Polk. Yes, I mean, those are kind of my guys as well. Like a Fatanu. Let me hold on. Yeah, Haynes is like, I feel like Haynes is like my ideal second round pick for the Dolphins at offensive line. Fatanu is like my ideal first round pick for the offensive line, and then Jalen Polk is like If Jalen Polk was a little more athletic, man, like he would be like he does all the little things around well. He's like an absolute dog. He's one of my favorite Dolphins fits too. Yeah, Garendo. I remember, you know what it was? I think I made that Garendo video before the combine. So it was before like he kind of blew up from that. Like I saw someone talking about him, like, wow, this guy's legit. Like I haven't seen him talked about it at all, and he's like the perfect Dolphin scheme fit. And then he blew up the combine, and now everyone knows his name. But we won't draft him. But I freaking love Peyton Wilson. That's another good name. I have Peyton Wilson as my linebacker 1. I don't think the Dolphins would draft him either, but he's my linebacker 1 just based purely off film. I know he has the injury history. That's kind of his issue. Tyke Smith. Interesting about Tyke Smith. When Tyke Smith became like first eligible, which was like 2 years ago, literally before he even transferred to Georgia, I had clips. I think I even posted clips on Twitter of Tyke Smith with his West Virginia film. Like, so I've been on Tyke Smith for a while. Some of these people, you think they're going to declare, they don't declare, and then they transfer, and they don't even play in his first transfer. So like, I've known about him for a while, so I'm a fan of him, and he can play as like a safety and a nickel. Yeah, lots of good names here. Chris Braswell, yeah. I have notes on Braswell that I will get into the edge stream. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if like I do think Braswell's like a second round edge guy and Turner is a first round edge guy, but it wouldn't surprise me if Braswell ended up being better at the next level. Braswell was more productive even at Alabama. Yeah, these are good names. Latu or Dejean, yeah. Those are good like first round names that I like a lot. Latu's my edge 1. Dejean is like my favorite DB to watch because he can do it all. 2 receivers I really like is Leggett and Purcell. Corley is interesting, but I want something with more catch radius. Corley is more like a Jarvis Landry type. Yeah, all those 3 receivers you just named, I think, are 3 of my more favorite ones for the Dolphins. I think Leggett is like the ideal one. If you don't have to, I don't want to take him at 21 personally because I think it's a little high. But I feel like Leggett's like the ideal fit. I feel like Corley is someone Mike McDaniel will fall in love with, and then I feel like Purcell is just like, he's not quite the perfect scheme fit that you would expect, but I do feel like he'd be a nice complement to what Hill and Waddle bring, and he's like just a pretty solid all around player that can play inside and outside. Mo Kamara, yeah, I took notes on Mo Kamara the other day. I have clips on him, and I will be dropping a video on him definitely before the draft. I think I have like, who am I doing it on? I have clips on Mo Kamara that I'm going to do for sure. I did Cole Bishop today. I have Dadrian Taylor Demerson from Texas Tech. I'm going to do a video on. There's some other ones too. I can't remember off the top of my head. Christian Boyd, probably the defensive tackle from Northern Iowa, because I think he has some really good traits, but then he also has some weaknesses that I want to point out as well. Yeah. And then there's a few other ones that I have film on that I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I think Leggett would be one of my in a trade down. Leggett would be one of the guys I would definitely be considering pretty heavily in like that 30 range. I mean, he could be even gone by that point. I think that's probably around where he actually goes in the draft, if I had to guess. But like a Leggett or once you get there, like a Darius Robinson or one of the interior O line that maybe you didn't want to take at 21, but you take him at 30, like a. If you draft Leggett, does Waddle become the slot? Well, I think with the Dolphins, they run a lot of 21 personnel, so they have a lot of two receiver sets out there. So it's kind of a rotation, and I think honestly all 3 of them can play all spots. Like I think Waddle could play the slot. I think Leggett could play even as like a big slot in certain situations. I don't think it's like a black and white thing where like when they're all 3 on the field, like Waddle has to be in the slot. Even Tyreek could play in the slot. Like it just depends on like the actual call itself. Just depends on what you want to go for. But yeah, Waddle could easily be a full-time slot. Did you have a video on Chris Jenkins? I have not. I don't think I have. I've made so many videos I can't even remember. But no, I don't think I did one on Chris Jenkins. We'll see if that ends up happening. I mean, if the Dolphins draft him, I will be definitely doing a video on him, but maybe I'll get to that. I don't have clips on him right now, though. I'm trying to remember which players I have clips on, but it's on my laptop, and I'm on my PC right now. But, yeah. Okay. Any like I feel like So for me, I'm gonna do like the predictive mock draft, right? I'm trying to like predict who I think is gonna be like who I really think is gonna be a Dolphin. And right now, I think 21 and 55. I'm pretty split on a few players on who I'm gonna do in that mock draft. Kind of waiting until we get closer to the draft to decide. But I think for the fifth or sixth, a later round pick, I'm really thinking they're gonna go after like a receiver, like a Luke McCaffrey or Anaya Smith. It just feels like a player they love and they take later on. Um, so I'm like, who do you guys think? Out of those later round guys, like who, like if you had to guess who becomes a Dolphin? Like for me, it's either Anaya Smith or Luke McCaffrey. Top three sleeper picks. Top three sleeper picks. Let's think about this. Sleeper can be a different thing. Let me go for some deep sleepers, or I'm gonna say. Let me look across each position here. I feel like either for safety, I would say like Dadrian Taylor-Demerson or Cole Bishop. I feel like they're just being underrated, but they're not like super sleepers or anything like that. Any super sleepers? I feel like Anthony Gold from Oregon State, receiver, is a pretty big sleeper. Same with Xavier Weaver from Colorado. He's also pretty intriguing that I just don't see many people talking about. Like Anthony Gold has a really good release package, pretty quick twitch, has some good speed to him, deep threat type. He's going to go really late, and I kind of like players like that when you're getting them in the later rounds. Kind of just like looking through player names right now. It's kind of hard to quantify what a sleeper is sometimes. I don't know if you guys have heard of Jalix Hunt. He's like, I think it's Houston Christian. He's kind of a developmental guy. He played a safety 2 years ago, and he's moved to edge. And for a guy that's only played edge for 2 years and that was a safety, he actually moves he actually has some pretty good moves. He needs to be a little more refined, but he showed some technician ability at times, and he can also drop into the flat. Like he's an edge that can definitely drop into coverage. So he's very intriguing. You get him as a later guy. He has a lot of intriguing traits. Oh yeah, Kane. I don't have film on him. I saw they were bringing him in for a visit, and I really wanted to watch him, but I didn't have any film, so I just need to find something. Oh yeah, Jalen Coker. Good shout. I like him a lot as well. Very good route runner, very good explosiveness, body control. It's just I've only seen like clips on him. I haven't watched the full film because I don't have Holy Cross film. Brandon Coleman from TCU. Yeah, he has really good 2022 film. I feel like in 2023 he didn't play as good, but where's my Coleman notes? Yeah, I have Coleman listed as a guard. He played, as tackle, and but he has some good length, very comfortable in his gap scheme, quality athlete, plays with some good power. But yeah, he has better 2022 film. I think playing on the inside will help hide some of the technical problems he has on the outside. Yeah, because I think he'll over lunge at times when he has to, and definitely needs better balance and ability to sustain. But I don't think he's a pretty intriguing guy for me on like around 4-ish 5 type. What's up? My favorite team in the Panthers with 33rd and 3rd. Who do you think they would draft? What are the Panthers needs? I think they're interested in like receiver type. I feel like they would take a receiver. Maybe I wonder if they would take like a Lad McConkey if he ends up falling there. I feel like they'd be interested for him. 39. I'm trying to think of like early. Well, like they just paid Robert Hunt, right? I was gonna say Christian Haynes because Haynes is an absolute set, but they paid Robert Hunt to be their right guard. But shout out Robert Hunt. Love Hunt. Yeah, they would be trying to think of like early second round players if they wanted to go in that direction. I feel like Panthers could use help in multiple different spots. Maybe Jordan Morgan if he ends up being there. Jordan Morgan's a very good tackle / guard prospect. Do you grade for PFF? No, I do not. Not grade for PFF. Do I sound like I grade for PFF? Honestly, I mean, if PFF wants to pay me to grade for them, sure, I'll do that. But I don't always agree with some of the PFF stuff. You should do a collab with Omar and I don't know how to say his name. I know who you're talking about though. Yeah. They definitely need help with their draft evaluations. Hey, no comment. I haven't seen really. I only see like clips of stuff on Twitter. Honestly, I don't know that many people. Like, I know of people in the Dolphins community. I haven't talked to that many of them. I've never really. Like, I've watched some of the other people, like Dougly Do Wrong or Inside the NFL. Like, those guys are pretty good, but I've never like communicated with some of them. You were too smart for PFF? Thank you. I appreciate that. You ate too smart. I want Luke too. Yeah, Luke would be fun. And I feel like I saw a tweet today about who was it? It might have been CK Parrott who talked about Luke and having ties to McDaniel. And a lot of it makes sense, where McDaniel comes from Denver with, where Ed played and hit Luke's dad, and then Christian being on the Niners. It all, makes sense. He does, as he said, he does catch everything. He just needs to learn. He's only been playing receiver for a little bit now because he's a quarterback. He just need to learn more of the route running and stuff like that to create separation. He's just not that explosive, but that guy is super tough. Hangs on to anything. Who's the one guy that you hope the Dolphins get at 21? Troy Fatanu. I sound like a broken record, but that would be like Fatanu or like a Fuaga if he fell to. Absolute dream scenarios, or even like a Brock Bowers, but I don't see it happening. What do you say at the end of your videos? Okay, let me think about it. What am I saying? See, I have to be in the mode. Like when I'm there towards the end, I know what I'm saying, but now I can't think of it. I think I'm just saying like, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. I think that's what I'm saying. But I say it very, quick and high. Worthy the wide receiver, Maria? Am I missing something? Yeah. Peace. Wait, is that the part? Are you talking about the whole sentence or just me saying peace? I feel like people know I'm saying peace, but they don't know the other part. Yeah, I'm telling them to make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, but no one does it. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm probably supposed to say that stuff at the start of the video because I know most people aren't watching towards the end, but like, I don't know. If people want to leave a like and comment, they can. Who's the one guy you don't want at 21? I'll give you 10 names right now that I'm just kidding. The one guy that I'm gonna say Tyler Guyton, Chop Robinson. I've mentioned that a few times. I don't want them. They're not my types of players. They're just a little too raw. Need a lot of work. And for me, it's like, I'm not on a staff. I don't know what my coaching staff, I don't know if they're actually gonna, train these guys to be better and actually make them, But yeah. Players like that I think realistically could be the pick. Those would be them. Like, I saw the mock draft where the Dolphins traded back and took Patrick Paul. Then I might just, I was going to say something I can't say. I'm going to get demonetized, so I'm not going to say that. But yeah, I wouldn't be very happy. Yeah. But yeah. So, I don't get the Tyler Guyton dislike. Hey, I don't hate Tyler Guyton. I just don't think he's a good pick at 21. He's just, okay, let me read my notes on Tyler Guyton to give my actual full opinion. Really good athleticism. He was a former H-back, which is cool, actually. So that kind of gives me hope. When you're like a former position somewhere else, you haven't been playing the position that long, that's kind of, a reason to actually, understand why you're kind of raw. Very powerful hands. He stays under control and patient. And I do feel way better about a Tyler Guyton than someone like Patrick Paul, to be honest. And I like Guyton better than, the two other, like Kingsley Sumatea and Kieran from Yale. But you're getting them in the second round, so I can at least more understand taking a project in the second. And he's really good at verse twist and stunts. He has really good, his feet overall. I really become impressed with his, athleticism with his feet. But sometimes he's raw to the position. His hand placing and timing are really off. He struggles with the bendy, speedy guys. His leverage in the running game is super inconsistent. And then, his footwork can be really bad at times. Like he can just rely on athleticism, but like the technical part with his footwork can be off. And also I kind of like when I'm looking at these tackles, I really like the tackles that can also play guard. When you're thinking specifically for the Dolphins, it's like, yeah, also like 6'8" tackles. I know like that sounds good, but when you look historically, most of them have not worked out. It's just a little too tall. Most of those guys end up being like, you have to bend your knees. Most of them end up being waist benders. So I don't think Guyton's like a terrible prospect, but just for me at 21, I'd be a little disappointed with all the other talent on the board. Because he does have good stuff to his game that you can work with. It's just he needs a lot of coaching. I'd be happy with Jordan Morgan and trade down too. Jordan Morgan is my guy. I have Jordan Morgan rated higher on the tackle list than Guyton, which I know most people don't have. I have Morgan highlighted here as a Dolphin in Dolphins color too, because he's one of my favorite Dolphins fit. It's just I think he goes somewhere between 21 and 55 because he's not quite worth it. He won't be best player available at 21, and I don't think he makes it to 55. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Guyton thing. And then I had the similar thoughts on Chop Robinson as well, like just some problems with the rawness to their games. And yeah, I like the tackles that in this class specifically for the Dolphins. I don't think I finished this thought. That can be tackles in year 2, but guards year 1. And I don't think like Guyton is not going to play guard. Like he definitely cannot play guard with his build. Then there's some other ones that are questionable, like, but there's some for sure, like Fatanu Fuaga could definitely play guards. It might be even better guards than yeah, Patrick Paul. The reason I didn't say Patrick Paul is because I think it's pretty unlikely. But Patrick Paul would definitely be, if they took him at 21, man, it'd be very, very unfortunate. That would be worse, way worse than Guyton as a pick. Way worse. Because Guyton at least has like really high athletic traits. Patrick Paul is not that athletic. And also is just a bad scheme fit. But yeah, I think, I don't know any other players to say. Adonai Mitchell, I think would be a bad pick at 21. I would not be happy with that. And I don't even think Adonai Mitchell is that bad of a player. I just don't like his fit for the Dolphins. I think he's one of the worst fits for them personally. And he also has a lot of question marks. I think he could work out somewhere else maybe, but not for Miami. What if I actually think Roman Wilson could be there at 55. I think he's like projected to go like late second. Like I think even like his over-under, usually Vegas is pretty accurate with their over-unders. Like, I think he was like, I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was like 60-something where they projected him. So I think he could be there. And I wouldn't be that mad if he was the pick. I like him a lot. I have him as a second-round player. So I think if he was best player available, I'm not mad. I think the only problem with, I think Wilson's a good scheme fit. I think the only thing that really, kind of, he's not very good after the catch. And I think the Dolphins really value that. Like, to me, Roman Wilson, like, there's some players in the class like where there's comps and I don't really like. The Tyler Lockett comp to Roman Wilson is really good in my opinion. Really, not the biggest guys, but really good down the field players. Really can excel in a vertical plane, even for smaller guys that usually don't. I feel like Roman Wilson just knows how to like use like the subtleness to create separation using toughness, lean into people. But yeah, not a ton of yak for him. Yeah, the UDFA guys. I'm excited to see what they get for UDFA because usually when it comes to UDFAs, I've only seen like a couple of them play, so I get like more players to watch, which is super exciting. And that's why I broke down like all the UDFAs last year. So I plan to do that again this year after the draft, get to the UDFA guys. Because usually, for the Dolphins, if you look at recently, they've had a lot of UDFA success, usually at least one a year, or at least, a few that make the roster, and some that, contribute to the team. So it's always exciting when those guys end up making an impact. But yeah. Honestly, I like every receiver in this class pretty much. I would say my biggest question marks are about, as I said, at the top, my biggest question marks are Adonai Mitchell and Troy Franklin. I think they're the most boomer bust. They have really high strengths, but their weaknesses actually have me very concerned. That I think, those weaknesses always, usually when you're watching people that translate to the next level, if you have those weaknesses, it doesn't always work for them. Second round receivers like Jermaine Byrne, I really like his film, but the off-field stuff makes me not want to take him. I think Tez Walker is probably one of the receivers I'm lowest on out of like that group. He was like out of that like round 2 to 4 group of receivers that I watched. I was like, that's kind of the one I was like not about. just because I think he's a one-dimensional. Odunze doesn't wow me. I think Odunze is very solid. I have him as my number 3 receiver. I've seen some people put him at 1 and 2. I actually have him kind of like, so I have it kind of I feel like people have the top 3 in like their own tier. I kind of have the top 2 in their own tier, and then I kind of have Odunze, and then I have Brian Thomas Jr. like right there with Odunze. I think it's a little bit closer, but I do think Robin Odunze very solid. He's very safe. He does a lot of things very well. I don't know if he has any like super elite like type of traits, but I feel like he's very well rounded. Yeah. Oh yeah. Tell me about McMillan. Yeah, I made a video on McMillan probably a couple weeks ago, and literally my first note on McMillan, big fan. Also, though, I did hear that McMillan has some off-field stuff. But I hadn't heard any of that until like a week ago, so I don't know how true that is. I do think McMillan deserves more hype as a player just based on the film. Because in 2022, McMillan was up there with like Odunze on that team for like their number 1 before he got hurt this past year. But him and Polk both really good. He's a really good route tempo. I think he can play more on the outside of the next level too because he's more of a slot receiver at Washington. I think he can do both. He's good after the catch, quickness, very competitive player, nice tracking ability. Didn't have a ton of experience versus press, and I think he can get knocked off balance in his route times when people got physical with him. I don't think he has the greatest play strength, but he makes some tough catches, really understands how to run routes, and makes plays at all 3 levels. Yeah, we don't have so many picks, so let's get them UDFAs. That's pretty much what the Dolphins drafts have been the last 2 years. Not as much this year, because at least they have a first round this year. Last 2 years, they only had 4 picks each in each draft. So like the UDFAs are like some of the most exciting parts after a couple picks. Odunze made Penix. Honestly, I mean Odunze not like honestly all 3 of those receivers made Penix look better than he actually is. Yeah, I'll check that out. Yeah, it was just it wasn't the all 22 on McMillan, but yeah, it was. He's a quality player, good route runner. I kind of like him as I have him as a round 2 guy, but I think he might go round 3. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. The receiver class is so good. I really like Javon Baker. He's one of my favorite Dolphins fits too. Jacob Cowing was the first player in this draft class I made a film breakdown on. I really like him a lot. Same with Malik Washington, kind of the undersized guys. I kind of have a type with the undersized guys that are going in the middle rounds. Those that are super athletic, get open. They always play a little bit bigger than their size too. I always kind of fall in love with those players in every class at the receivers and DB position. Honestly, the quick twitched guys. They come out every year. Those are end being my guy. Yeah, I think Javon Baker's been kind of like. Honestly, like I feel like people are talking about like a 4th round player. I feel like he's up there with some of the guys that are in like the 2nd, 3rd round range that I see talked about. I think just because his route tree was kind of limited at UCF. He also transferred from Alabama, but when he got to run more routes, I feel like he looked more impressive than what he got to actually show. So, and he's one of the best like body control players at the catch point in this class. Yeah, I think we're gonna end it there unless anyone has any final things to say. Hold on, I'm not in video mode, so I can't think of what I say in my outro. I have to like be in the mode. So I'll be talking for a while and then be like, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, let's get copies. Honestly, I don't think people are usually watching at the end, so that's why I do it. Okay, later guys.